You are now tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome one, welcome all to another episode of Flipping the Birds.
He's into the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 166 of Flipping the Birds. And we apologize in advance for going ghost for a couple of weeks, but we had to enjoy the hiatus a little bit, right? You know, I feel like Morgan went on vacation somewhere in Switzerland, right? Eric has been working hard with the flyer stuff, and I just been home with a cold.
Yeah. Switzerland was nice for sure.
How are you feeling, guys?
Feeling great, man. Feeling awesome. Like, you know, the Philadelphia Flyers ended their their final home game of the season on a high note by beating the worst team in the league. So they did that. And, I could now kind of put my energy towards the NLL lacrosse and the Eagles.
I have a question, Morg. And
Yeah.
this is not the stereotype at all. But is hockey is hockey really a big thing in Canada, or is it kind of like has basketball taken over because of how good the Raptors are?
No, there's a good mix, but I feel like hockey is more ingrained in the culture.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's permeated more of the.
It's like soccer for
smaller-
Europe.
Yeah, and like it's very common for like small towns that have like good hockey teams and stuff like that, and like maybe so less sport like that. It's been there for years, so they're better at it. They like it more. It's ingrained in the culture. But basketball, after the Raptors won a championship, for sure, it was definitely popped off.
Do you find that lacrosse in Canada is ingrained just as much as hockey?
No, not as much.
No?
Like I think
I
that,
find the crossover in America between the hockey players and like that and lacrosse players like actually it's pretty insane. Like how many NHL guys would be NLL guys.
for sure, it's a lot of similar skills, right?
Yeah.
I think my one goal in life is to get Morgan to cover an Eagles game in person, and we're gonna make that happen at some point next season.
All right.
I feel like we're gonna make that happen, right?
That's a great life goal for you. I love that for you.
Oh God, I miss you guys, man. Not a lot's been going on, right? We talked about the free agency moves, right? Now the main topic of discussion besides Devin White coming to Philadelphia is draft season, right? And last year's draft was nothing but less than way better than the 4th of July. I mean, we drafted Jordan Davis, right? We traded for AJ Brown and extended him in the same night for $100 million and 4 more years. Somehow, some way, Nakobe Dean watch ended with him in Philadelphia in the 3rd round. Cam Jurgens, an Eagle, and the heir to the throne, right? How do you top a draft like that? Like, I feel like, before we get into our mock drafts, right? Like, Howie Roseman has had 3 successful drafts in a row, right? He did things that not a lot of people were fans of, drafting Jalen Hurts. Then he went ahead, jumped the Giants for Devontae Smith. Then he went ahead and got Jordan Davis, the biggest mammoth in the draft. Still got Nakobe Dean. Traded for an all-pro receiver. Like, I don't know. It's weird to have such a great organization. That I feel like that's one way to say. Like, it's weird to have an organization that's being ran the right way. How do you guys feel about that?
As somebody who covers the Flyers, I do also feel like it's weird to have you see a great organization live and in color. Like you nailed it 100%. Ownership for the Philadelphia Eagles, it trends everywhere. It's contagious throughout the locker room, throughout the coaching staff. You have the best coaches, elite coaches, and you wouldn't have said that about Sirianni, but I'm not necessarily talking about Sirianni. I'm talking about position coaches like Stoutland, who can pretty much pick out any guy, Joe Schmo from the cul-de-sac over there and make him to an all-pro. So this is a special time in Philadelphia Eagles history.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main thing is that Howie's kind of learning from his mistakes, and that's what you want out of a GM, right? And there's a lot of things that even over his tenure before the last couple of years, there's been questions we've had as fans about whether he can handle that, and he's just kind of adapted and just kind of changed to the strategy to fit his strength, right? So like you talk about draft picks, they had 2 first round draft picks last year, and the Eagles have had some successes and some misses in the first round. So what they do, they trade for a proven talent in AJ Brown, and then they sign him to a long-term contract, and you use stuff like that. And then this year, they're the one thing that kind of stuck out to me while I was looking at previous drafts is that the Eagles haven't really hit on one of those like surprise deep round picks. Like that's not really what they've been able to do. That's the one thing. Like you talk about teams like Seattle that are kind of constantly finding value in like the 4th and 5th round, and a lot of teams like that. The Eagles really haven't done that. So then you look at the draft this year, like they didn't even bother. Why we need 5th and 6th round picks? Like we don't even draft well, so we're just gonna get 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We've been hitting on those, and so like maybe they trade back for more picks, but it's really cool just to see how we kind of go. Oh, we're not really good at that. We're gonna adapt. We're gonna stick with what we're good at. So that's kind of cool.
And I completely agree with that. And I was actually gonna get to this next, right? So obviously Zach, shout out to us. I want to talk about a little bit Jordan Mailata, and because I stumbled upon a video, and I'm hoping it's legit because I would hate for this Instagram video to really set me sideways and just piss me off. But Jordan Mailata, I mean, he played rugby, right? And then he had an incident where he had to have heart surgery. And then in his recovery and coming back, he wants to play rugby again. And they offered him it was like a 1-year deal worth $5,000 or something like that. Which I don't know, if over there that's a lot of money or not, whatever case may be. But the guy took a shot at finding a different alternative, and it's one of the best left tackles in the league now. Like, I think that's their last deep find. Honestly, that was a diamond in the rough. But I agree with that. Like I feel like they thought Zach McPherson would be that guy, right? He'll be that secret cornerback that was a little bit like the 4th round, if I'm mistaken. He was taken. Kyron Johnson as well, who's supposed to be like a prototypical Hassan Reddick before Reddick was here.
Yeah, Patrick Johnson in late rounds.
Yeah, a lot of guys that they thought they were going to hit on. Yeah, exactly. And it just feels like I agree with you. Like they're not good when it gets later on in the drafts. I mean, why not skip it, right? Just skip it this season.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's talk about let's get the mock draft going, right? Let's talk about skipping picks. Let's get a little creative out here. Shout out to everybody that's joining us live and everybody that's listening to the next day. Make sure you guys subscribe to PSN Network, where we have now an AM show. So big shout out to Phil, who's trending in AM every AM. And we'll be definitely going forward. I'll be fully back, rotating most of the way with Zach covering Sixers and Eric covering lacrosse and hockey, and Morgan, just Morgan.
I gotta go back to Switzerland.
I feel like Morgan has the dopest vacation. I don't know if you've ever seen Morgan's Instagram, but I feel like if you can go to Morgan's Instagram, right, he has like the dopest vacations ever. Like the guy travels everywhere.
I try to. One place I haven't been is Philly, which I can't understand that really myself.
I feel like that's not
about that. I get questions about that all the time, man. Like,
that's not vacation. That's just you coming home. That's all it is.
Yeah. Okay, fair. It's fair. You know what I mean?
There you go. That's your reasoning.
You're still on vacation out there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right. So we're focusing on the first round this podcast.
Yes. So this podcast will cover the first round. Next podcast will be round 2 and 3, and then the last one right before the draft will cover 7, and then possibly give you guys our surprise moves. Yeah, we'll shoot for the stars on this one.
So we're not doing trades either. We're just drafting.
I feel like you guys do trades. I will not be doing trades. So I'm gonna spoiler alert. We got 2 picks. I'm using them.
So Draft Network's mock draft machine is a little different now.
I haven't even used it yet. This is my first experience with it.
Yeah, that's why I want to warn you. So the results, for some weird reason, the results come at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
Of what every team drafts. So let's just do a test run really quick, just so we get the hang of this. You see, so the results are gonna come if you scroll down. No. Like the whole screen. Yeah, see?
Okay.
So they mix things up now. I feel like a lot's changed with their system.
Okay, so we have. I feel like that's an easy decision.
Oh wow, okay. All right, so who's for Jalen Carter and who's not?
I feel like it's a no-brainer. I feel like if he's sitting there at 10, you just draft him. I don't think – I mean, unless there's something going on with the off-the-field stuff that we don't know about and it's worse than we thought. Like, I just think that that's a no-brainer. At 10, if he's there, you take him.
Okay, so now going the defense, right? And I'll take my route on this, right? So we're going Jalen Carter, pairing him with Jordan Davis, pairing him back with Nakobe Dean. So now you think your defensive line is set, cornerbacks is set, right? Still missing a safety, still missing possibly another linebacker. Offensively, your passing is the kid from Northwestern on the board? No. Eric,
Tackle?
you're on mute, Eric.
Yeah, he's available. Peter.
Okay, so is there anybody for that pick, or I mean, I'm very, very well against it. I don't want an offensive lineman in the top 10, especially if Jalen Carter is available.
I think the question is not really whether or not I'm for a tackle or a lineman or a corner. I think it's just if Jalen Carter's on the board, you take Jalen Carter at 10. I think it's just like that's a talent that you usually don't get at 10. That's like one of those talents that, like, you know, if you're in the top 10, this is why like top 10 teams always think about moving up, because one of the Eagles is going to have another top 10 pick. And if Jalen Carter falls you a top 10, that's like a fourth overall, fifth overall pick. You're getting a 10 just because there's some good quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Dream
I just don't
situation.
see him falling out of the top 5. I think he's the 5th person taken.
Yeah, like if you get him at 10,
that'd be perfect. I mean, right? You know, take the best.
You don't have to do any legwork for it.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
so all right, so while this goes,
did we take it? Or they took Nolan Smith for it.
Oh,
okay. Well,
was he still on the board? No. Okay, so now we did Joey Porter. All right, so we took Jalen Carter.
He
All right,
went
we didn't take
20th. I don't know about that. Okay, should I just start over?
It's up to you.
Yeah.
What happened? I missed it. I couldn't really.
We auto draft.
They auto draft.
Was it a good pick?
Because we took too long.
It was Nolan Smith. Not a bad pick at all, but
Not a bad pick at all.
I just feel like defensive tackle is a much bigger need.
Okay, let's see if he falls to us again.
Yeah, it might be an anomaly. Who knows?
No, he
Nope.
did not.
He went to the Seahawks.
Okay.
All right. So in this case,
Okay.
so
I'll pause the draft until we're ready to actually pick this time.
Oh, you can
Right,
pause it. Okay.
so-
Awesome.
There's another interesting situation though too. I also think that this is another case where, you know, if he's on the board, you take him.
Tyree Wilson. So I haven't done much work on Wilson. My curiosity with Wilson falls. You have Josh Sweat, you have Hassan Reddick, right? I don't know what the defense is going to look like with Reddick because he's technically a linebacker. In my curious thoughts, right? Can you possibly make Wilson a versatile piece where you can move him in and out like Brandon Graham was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think with like he's a little more raw than the other picks you can get, like Van Noy or Van Ness. Like so I think that there's a little more work to be done, but that's kind of the benefit of the situation the Eagles are in is he doesn't have to play right away. You can work him in, but like physically he's disgusting. Like he's a great prospect.
All right, I'm with it.
I'm still jammed on the Skoronski, but we'll go with that.
So what's your case for Skoronski?
My thing is with Stoutland and how old our offensive line is getting, I think that he's going to be somebody who's going to be an all-pro. I honestly believe in the world in this kid. So that's where I'm at. I just see our offensive line aging, and I don't know how ready we are to kind of, you know, move forward when Kelsey decides to hang it up.
Hmm.
I know he's not a center, but we're going to need help inside.
So,
and he plays all along the line.
I don't
I
know.
like the comment by Zach, by the way. I'm a big draft day movie fan, so this comment is all time for me right now. Sorry.
I was just gonna say this is the first time I'm seeing that the draft networks projected picks too, and like so I don't know. I don't think there's gonna be 4 quarterbacks in the top 10. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Brian Brees is a top 10 pick.
Okay.
It's funny you mentioned.
I could see a corner already going. I don't know that Darnell Washington's a top 10 pick. That's interesting.
It's very interesting. I'm looking at this now. I didn't even look at who was selected. I don't know. Listen, if you if you believe that Tyree Wilson can be a versatile piece where he lays in and out like Brandon Graham did, then I'm all for it. To draft him, you got to press pause. Get unpause it and draft. It's a weird thing. Yeah. And while we wait for them to get to 30, I think it would be a great idea if he's versatile because you still bring that big bone player where he could come up in the middle with a Jordan Davis or a Milton Williams, which Milton Williams, a lot of people overlooking his ability. I feel like he's a little bit of a Tim Jernigan for me. Wouldn't mind seeing him start honestly, but we do need a depth at defensive tackle.
Okay, this is an interesting.
Did you pause it? Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I paused it. But again, like Christian Gonzalez doesn't get picked till the 24th. I don't think that's happening. Joey Porter Jr. is way ahead of him. That's interesting.
So really quick, can you click on trade offers? I know we can't play with the trade offers, but the fact that they are there. So we have Raiders, and then can you click number 2? See who else offered? Broncos. Okay, so with the 30th pick, I feel like you make a big move, right? And you pull what you pulled off last season, and you trade for Devin White. You move that 30th pick, and you move either a third this year, or maybe even do we have a 4th rounder next year? I think we do. A 4th next year.
Yeah, I don't think that Devin Witherspoon's like. There's no way that he's available. At
the
30.
Draft Network is breaking Morgan.
Yeah, I don't. Okay.
I mean, it's already broken me too because
if you walk
here
in the draft with Tyree Wilson and Devin Witherspoon, like I don't.
For me at 30, it's already breaking me because that's where I had Brian Breesy. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the Eagles do have a 4th round pick for next season, by the way.
That's why I was when I go like flip flop the defensive and the offense. That's what I was thinking. I take the offensive first.
Is there a way to filter it?
Defense down the line as well.
Is there a way to filter it? Because I know back then we could filter it by like their board, their draft board.
Yeah, it's right here. So rank.
Wait, go up a little bit. No, yeah, they took that away too, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm fully for it. I agree, Brian. I think if you can trade that pick, and get
get Devin White.
Like,
why not?
That just changes your defense. Like I don't know that there's many players you're gonna draft at 30th overall that are gonna be that impactful. And
not only that, you pair him with Nakobe Dean. Like,
yeah, that's silly.
That's not happened in Philly in a long time. That's nasty tandem.
Yeah.
Our team's gonna be fun to watch.
However,
it's awesome.
Yeah. However, I don't like if we're talking about this draft situation. Like, I don't know how you don't take Devin Witherspoon
or Bijan Robinson. Why? Okay, why don't you go for? Is it Bijan or Bijan? Bijan.
I think it's Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson. Why not go for? I'm on the mindset like if Bijan is there at 10 and Jalen's not there at 10, I would draft Bijan in RB just for the simple fact you overpower your offense and you overcompensate for the lack of defense that you have, and you kind of pull what the Chiefs have been pulling off, right? Because we know their defense has not been great outside of Chris Jones.
My reason for not taking him is purely because I think he's taken before 30, and I could be the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think everybody's thinking Cowboys.
Yeah,
still damn predictable. They don't do nothing special over there.
Yeah, I don't really know what I think of this their predictions, but
it's blowing.
Those are two great picks at 30. Like I think that both of those players are even options at 10. So if you can get either of those players at 30, you take them.
I've never seen you so
like
before.
He's just like, yeah, no shit, dude.
Hey, what the hell is this?
Sure. I like Chris Smith. Like if you get a safety at 30, that would be a good pick. I really like him too. Like there's not that many traditional like single high safeties, which ideally that's who you'd add to this team, I think. But if you can get a guy that like at least has the capability to play that role, then I think that you can make it work. And I think Chris Smith's one of those guys. I like there's that like interior defensive line is another place like Eric was saying that I feel like if you get someone here, if you didn't get that at pick 10, you could also go with. But
right, Morgan, how do you feel about Emmanuel Forbes around the 30th pick corner?
I think that the best corner in this draft might be Deonte Banks in Maryland. I think that he's going to be the surprise guy.
Me too, because I was looking at him earlier as well as a big value get for us.
Yeah, he's long. He's sticky. He's great in coverage. He just reminds me of that kind of guy that gets it early on, like just physically. He translates so well to the NFL, and he's just smart. Like if you just watch, he's fun to watch at corner. Like if you like watching good corner play, then he's so good. It's so fun to watch, and there's no way he's not good. I think he's just like the top guy. But at 30, fantastic value.
Interesting. Do you think that kind of player falls to the second round?
I would hope so, but I don't think so. I think if it's not first round, then it's early second.
Okay.
There's a ton of options for 30, which is encouraging.
Okay, so who do you guys want? Okay, so if our decisions are these, Devin,
I'm going Bijan.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going Bijan. Like we could vote on it. I mean, there's three of us, so
I'm fine with that. That's an interesting pick.
Yeah, I mean, like this is so out of whack that I'm not even sure if I picked it that it would matter. So, yeah, let's go. Let's get our mustard sales and let's go.
All right,
embrace the chaos.
Yeah.
No thanks.
His endorsement, man, that Bijan Mustard, that sounds awesome. Did you hear about that, Brian and Morgan? Bijan Robinson, he had a Bijan Mustard. That was like an endorsement, like an NIL endorsement deal.
Really?
Yeah, it rules.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, should we go again?
I guess, yeah. I mean, so I think PFF that actually lets you do the first two rounds. Maybe they'll have a more of an accurate feel of what the draft could look like.
Second, you want to do second round as well?
Oh, we didn't do second round.
No, just first.
I'm losing my shit because it is cold.
Okay.
All right, so here we go with the first again.
Let's go, Jalen Carter.
Every top 5 player available at 10. Let's go.
What are the chances you think they go quarterback at 10?
Oh,
we are a quarterback factory after all.
No.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts means so much to this to the city.
More realistic.
Okay, that's fair.
DJ Stroud, 7. Okay.
That's actually very fair. So Lions took Jalen Carter.
Right, easy. Okay, trade offers. Trade with the Cowboys, immediate no.
Hell no.
Pick 10.
I feel like, what are we getting in return for pick 10? I can't even see.
Second round, a fourth round, a seventh round, and a second round next year. I don't think you make that trade.
No.
And then
just real quick,
Cowboys are offering a first and a second.
If you do want to look at another mock draft, it's NFLmockdraftdatabase.com. I just found another one as well. It seems less broken.
Sure. Well, I mean, this is the good. I feel like this is a legitimate scenario. So,
okay,
if you're talking about doing something like this,
you get a first this year or next year?
You get a first this year and you get a second this year.
So
but essentially, the question is, what do you guys feel about the Eagles trading back?
I hate it as a fan, right? It makes all the sense in the world as an analyst, right? Because they don't have much picks in this draft. But my question for you guys, right, is do the Eagles need that many picks in this draft to compensate for the lack of depth that they have in positions with that are very needy right now, like safety, defensive line, anything. Like, do you guys feel like they need to have more picks this season, or should they go for the kill this season and just go with next year's like loaded amount of picks that they're gonna have?
Well, it
I think
depends. What is the kind of offer you get for that 10? Because that's
So,
going to be obviously the most valuable pick you have. And if you can stack more mid-round picks this year, and if you're going to sacrifice, say, hey, we want to get more early picks for the first 2 rounds next year, that might be a route that you want to take. But what are you sacrificing? Like, I kind of think that sticking with the first at 10 and then at 30 is like the route to take. I personally wouldn't make any trades. And I know it's kind of how I designed my draft, but I would stand by it in the boardroom too, I think.
I think the interesting thing for me is trading for a first round next year. I think that's kind of how you create infinite value from your first round picks is like if there's no one you like at 10, especially, I think that obviously comes into play as well. So like who's sitting there at 10? Obviously, if it's a generational talent, you take them. But if you're not sure, you can always create value by essentially just swapping your first round pick for another first round pick next year. And again, it depends on the team you're trading to. So the Cowboys probably going to be a decent team next year. You're trading your 10th overall pick this year for a worse one. But if another team calls you up with 2 picks, like the Lions want to move up again, I don't know if that happens, or you can get a team like the Bucks, who are sitting there at 19, who probably won't be that great next year, right? And you can get a good round pick next year.
Could the Bucks do Devin White and 19 for 10? I mean, is that the value for a 10th overall pick?
Probably not. But
you throw in a 4th from next year in that mix.
I mean, I think if you're the Eagles, you definitely do that. I don't know that the Bucks do that, but there's probably a package there that could include that. Like I think that that's the only thing I'd trade. Like, I don't know if there's that much value in just recouping some mid-round picks this draft, like 2 first-round picks. And again, we kind of talked about earlier, like how many times are the Eagles going to draft in the top 10 for the next couple of years?
And what about the Raiders as a team? I mean, you kind of said along the lines of teams that kind of seem to are on a rebuild. I can see trading number 10 to a team that's on a rebuild for, at least 3 other picks in this draft and 3 front loading next year. So yeah, I mean, like, there's tons of things that you can do with it. I mean, that's a very viable option, and a very good point you make too about choosing your draft partner wisely.
What quarterback is left on the board?
What quarterback is?
Yeah.
Corner or quarter?
Quarter.
Oh, in this scenario, none. But I think that in real life, probably at least one of those quarterbacks will be available. Okay, so we didn't trade down. We're going to stay at 10, and we got 2 corners. And
is
then
cornerback really a need?
That's an interesting question. See, I think that this is one of those cases where it just gives you more flexibility in the future, right? So if you want to draft a player that's going to be like, I think there's a really good value prop for drafting Skoronski and just putting him at guard this year. I think that makes you an immediately better team. I think he's probably a better option than Cam Jurgens. He's just physically a bigger, stronger player. And bumping him into guard just like makes that transition so much easier for him. He has less to worry about. So I think that makes you like an immediately better team. Drafting these corners, like, are they going to start for you this year? Maybe, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Like, God forbid, or maybe you move on from like one of your corners via trade. I don't know. Like, who knows what you're going to do? Like, in some scenario, you might need them, but I think that's a move for the future. And like, you know that the Eagles are going to have to address the corner position at some point. They're going to have to get younger
at some point. But if you're going best player available, right? Is best player available not Robinson? I mean, I don't. It's actually hard to debate that with Patrick Johnson on the board as well.
Is there a possibility that
Stroud?
Is there a possibility that Stroud drops a 10? In your mind?
I'm surprised he's dropping to 7 in this draft.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's got to be at least second overall. Like I don't see Anthony Richardson like being the second overall pick.
And it's so wild to see how like this draft is going to be dictated by the quarterbacks. It's going to be dictated by which quarterback goes where and when, right? Because Raiders ideally, like, you know, they need a quarterback, so they got CJ Stroud, right? Lions, they technically need a quarterback for the future. Seahawks technically need a quarterback for the future. Cardinals, I feel like it's so interesting because I just feel like they're out on the Kyler Murray idea, the experiment. I'm supposed to be Gannon there.
Not according to Gannon though. Gannon, they're the same guy, man. They're the same person.
I mean, listen, I'm
Same.
hoping that they keep him because it's gonna trash Gannon at the end of the day, right? I don't see Kyler Murray as a top 10 quarterback. But it's just so interesting to see. Like, you know, the Titans, do they believe in Malik Willis? Like, would they trade up in the top 10? Patriots, they were shopping Mac Jones. Who else do we have here? Washington, they technically need a quarterback.
Bucks
need a quarterback. Ravens, nobody knows. Yeah.
Ravens.
Like, there's so much going on. I mean, what about like when the Giants gave Daniel Jones all that money? Saints. Yeah. There's so many teams that need a quarterback, and it could be one of those drafts where it's like that year. Was it the Patrick Mahomes draft where everybody was like trading up and trading down, and then Mahomes like fell, Chiefs traded up for him, kind of thing?
Yeah,
got him at 10.
I'm pretty sure that's how that went down.
So it's just extraordinary to see like how much the quarterbacks are actually controlling this draft.
Yeah, it's a perfect position for the Eagles, sitting there at 10, right? Like, you're gonna get
value no matter what.
6 talent. I mean, you argue that the quarterbacks are the top 2 best players in the draft, right? But you know, outside of that, like, you're getting a top 6, top 7 player at 10, which is pretty incredible.
Interesting.
Okay, so I think that I assume that Eric, that conversation was that you're pro Peter Skoronski at 10.
I am, yeah.
I think that's probably my pick. If we're sitting here in this position, that's who I'd take as well.
Okay, 2 out of 3 wins. This kind of feels like the Vikings prediction all over again.
I know, because here I am, like, okay, because now it puts you in a weird predicament. Like, if you take Skoronski, right, now with that 30th pick, you're taking the best probably defensive lineman available, defensive tackle, edge, whatever most versatile edge is. Or I looked at the other site that I mentioned earlier, and Bijan's there again.
Bijan is there, and Joey Porter's there, and Cam Smith is also there.
Brian Branch I have here. I have Emmanuel Forbes here. I have Kelly Ringo. Those are all reaches, I think, as far as the last few I named. If Bijan's there, now you're going to offense in the first round. That puts you in a predicament. What are you doing with the defensive line?
But there's a big but, right?
Right.
Jeffrey Lurie, key thing he said was when they were talking about the draft, right? And the focal point. His thing is offense. And he said that this during the owner meetings. Is offense for him, right? If Bijan is there, how could you not take that kind of talent for the next 5 years?
He's taking
like, you gotta think about it like that. You milk him for what he's worth for 5 years. You're not signing him to a 2nd-year deal. No, but he's 5 years. He's gonna be 5 years with the Eagles, which means that's 5 years that you can rely on him and don't have to wear down your quarterback. 5 years of probably having a top 3 running back because of the offensive line, right? It's just, I don't know, like, they need more weapons, right?
The only way that you don't take Bijan if he's there is if you have your heart set on a defensive lineman who has an epic fall, like Aaron Rodgers proportions.
It would be Nolan Smith at this rate. Like, it's either Bijan or Nolan Smith, in my opinion. Like, one of those guys, if they're available at 30 or even the 20 range, the top 20 range, Eagles would trade up for one of those guys. or if they fall in their lap, then they're going for one of them as well.
Would Will McDonald be available 30th? You guys have?
I think he's on there right now.
Yeah, I think he's available.
Okay, so would that be a reach, or is that something that you're like absolutely not? Bijan's there, because I would say absolutely not. Bijan's there.
I'm in the same position.
Well,
I think
I think
Bijan
Nolan
or
Smith is there. If you're going to go edge, then Nolan's like
Nolan Smith is right there, and that's literally the second version of Hassan Reddick, which would be phenomenal in this defense. Okay. But another player that's there that's been kind of intriguing is a lot of people been talking about the tight end position, the lack of depth. You know, Jack Stoll's on the team. They drafted Calcaterra. Darnell Washington's available at 30th, and he's 6'7". He's a monster. Would give you an immediate weapon in this offense where you don't have to rely on him for the next like two seasons. But it would greatly help this offense go to the next level. Like he replaces the Quez Watkins role, essentially, in my opinion. Yeah.
I think the big thing for me is that I can't see them going to offense in the first round. I think that they really want to address the defense. I think it's like way more likely to go to defense than to offense. So the fact that we went tackle in the first round, like there's also Osiris Torrance here who'd be a great pickup. But again, me makes you better at guard. If he's at 30, I think that's a great pickup. There's a couple of, again, just steals because we're using this draft board. But yeah, I think, again, like Darnell Washington's one of those players that I assume is gone by 31, but that's crazy value.
Yeah.
I like imagine the offenses that the Eagles could run with those two players, with Dallas Goedert and Washington.
Exactly.
That's insane.
And to add to that, like, again, the luxury of Stoutland, like, you don't have to take the elite guy. You can take pretty much a good, solid, probably second round, third round, even lineman, if you will, just for example, and get a first round talent out of them.
Yeah.
It's very fair.
And worst case scenario, you just have Cam Jurgens. Like, I don't think that's a bad situation to be in.
It's not at all.
Exactly. So you think that? So I agree with you, Morgan. I think going offense twice in the first round is not ideal, and it's not an Eagles way. But if that's the case, I'm for Nolan Smith.
Yeah, I'd also take Joey Porter Jr. at 30.
Yeah, if he's there,
I'd also
absolutely.
take Cam Smith at 32, but
I'm on the mindset that they won't be there.
I don't think. But I think obviously there's two people you can take in this situation, but for the sake of going one defense, I feel like Nolan Smith is the pick. You agree, Eric?
Yeah, because it's balanced. I would like that. And also at the end of I don't find it to be a backbreaker. And hear me out, it's crazy, but if you don't get Bijan Robinson, it's not a backbreaker. I have a lot of faith in the offensive weapons we have as the best offense in the league.
For sure.
It's fair game.
Okay, second round.
Georgia.
I'm hoping for Deontay Banks. He's not going to fall.
Can you believe that we are 40 minutes into the podcast?
Man, mock drafting is fun. I love mock season.
I just happened to look up, and this time is flying.
Yeah, I could have sworn it said 13 minutes not so long ago.
No way.
All right. So what do we got? Sounds like we have your guy.
No way.
Wow, Bijan, no. What the hell? Okay, now you take Bijan. There's
no way, dude.
Take him. Okay.
No. I almost feel rude taking that.
I was waiting for him to come off the board, and he just didn't. All right, that's easy.
Well, no, I mean, okay, let's pretend he's not.
Let's be realistic.
Yes, let's be realistic.
Okay, so being realistic, I do think Jahmyr Gibbs could be an option. If teams don't want to go running back, he might fall.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs makes all the sense in the world, especially with them having interest in Alvin Kamara last season to trade for. Even with us having Miles Sanders, like you get a player that's literally the hybrid version of Jamal Charles meets Alvin Kamara. Helps you in the receiving game, has amazing feet, and it's just, to me, that's a no-brainer move.
Mm-hmm. Another player I really like is Sidney Brown. Another
yes.
safety would be a good pickup. He's another guy like he's a smaller dude, but he really can fly. And so I think that he's one of those guys that more of a kind of a box guy, a two high guy. Not as much as like that single high guy that you might need in this defense, but can fly. I think he could learn it. I think it would translate. He's really
I'm all
impressive.
for that.
Great ball skills and just mean, nasty guy.
I agree with you about Sidney Brown a lot. There was another safety I looked at as well. I don't know if he's off the board, but Jordan Battle. That was
I think
another
Jordan Battle
safety
would
that I
be
looked at.
a third round kind of guy, right?
I think he.
Do you think it would be
Oh,
too
yeah.
much of a reach, or is it
He
like
went.
a pretty stellar pick?
No. That would be.
Oh, he's already on there. Okay.
Yeah. Who else is on this board? There's two linebackers that if they're available, Jack Campbell and Drew Sanders. They seem like Eagles kind of linebackers. Like they kind of find these like TJ Edwards kind of players, these Jordan Hicks kind of players. They're just like smart dudes. Drew Sanders is like really athletic. He didn't play. I think he only played 1 year. But Jack Campbell's like been a captain for like 3 years. Like middle linebacker. Like he's just a smart dude. Just makes good plays. Like kind of classic. Same thing. TJ Edwards, Jordan Hicks. So I feel like if either of those guys are available, I don't think they will be. But if they are, I feel like linebacker would be a great pickup in the second round.
It's not a bad idea.
If you can't trade obviously for Devin White, but like.
Oh, we're assuming Devin White's not on the team. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So I don't know like if there's anyone in particular. I mean, obviously we're taking the running back.
Yeah, I personally go Gibbs, honestly. But what do you guys feeling?
Okay.
I mean, he's not there. There's no possible way. Like, we're trying to be realistic here. If Bijan is available at 62, it's N'Kobe Dean Part 2.
I mean, to be honest, I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs will be available.
I don't think so either, honestly. All right, so you want to pretend like they're both not here? Oh,
no, I just want that.
All right, cool. Yeah. So we have first round. We have Peter. And then at 10 we have Peter Skoronsky, right? 30th we have Nolan Smith. Yep. If the Eagles were to trade, I personally think it's a trade for a player like Devin White or Kevin Byard. You trade a 30th pick, you don't touch the 10th. And second round we have Jahmyr Gibbs. It's not bad.
I think you come up pretty happy if you get those picks.
Not bad at all.
Yeah,
okay.
I think those picks are pretty solid, especially for the value.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I think from after those three, I mean, we're going to hear about it a lot over the next two podcasts leading up to the draft. But I mean, I think it's heavy. You take the best available at that point, right? Like maybe you try to fulfill something. You try to find maybe a sleeper at a position you need, but that'll be your very next pick, and then you're just filling the back end with just best available.
I completely agree with that.
And I think you come back the next day and you just you take Bijan off the board.
Yeah, of course. He's going to fall all the way to the 7th round. And it's going to be like Mr. Relevant, but also the heck of a steal.
Yeah, poor guy's hoping to hear his name called on day one. Eagles pick him up in the 7th.
Yeah,
you know what's going to really piss me off? If he gets a 30th and the Eagles pull a move where they trade out of the first round for more picks, but he was right there for them, and some stupid team comes and picks him up. Sorry, not every other team is stupid, but.
You know how upset I was when the Eagles traded up for Carson Wentz and they could have had Ezekiel Elliott? I just wanted Ezekiel Elliott so bad. It just seems like one of those situations.
Eagles could have had Lamar Jackson and they traded that pick to the Ravens.
What's the opportunity that if he was there and we didn't take him at 30, that the Chiefs would just take him? Like, do you think that would just be like a weird flex, or do you think that would be a fit?
I think there's questions you got to ask if he's sitting there at like 24.
Yeah.
23. Like if he can go to the Ravens, like I feel like that's fantastic for them. Like there's so many teams that can use a player like that. I mean, probably not the Giants. But after, I mean, even Austin Eckler might want out of LA. Like
that's fair.
So I like Seahawks. Bucks. I mean,
there's a ton of teams.
Yeah.
How is this so broken that he fell past all of these teams?
Twice. He fell
The
back all these
draft
teams.
networks know something.
He's still on the board.
He's going to be the most irrelevant of all time.
Per sources, the draft network knows that there's something up with Bijan's health.
Yeah, exactly. It's they know
He has a
something.
strained calf.
Deontay Banks there.
I mean, if he's falling down like this and he has no calf, better than strained calf, he has no calf. It's just gone. Like, this is the only way he falls this far. If he just loses the calf,
it's just skin and bone down there.
I feel like this is a draft where I wouldn't be unhappy if at 31 they traded down either, because there's so much value in the second round. If you can have 2 second-round picks in this draft, that's pretty good. Especially like if you can trade that pick for, I don't know, like a linebacker or something like that, and then get a third maybe back. Tossing some picks and get a second or a third. Who knows? Probably not.
Bring home Devin White. I feel like it's meant to be like just
you're asking a lot to get a second back. Maybe you trade the 10th and you get a second round pick this year.
It's gonna be a very interesting draft. I'm actually pretty excited, and it feels like there's a one time where it's kind of like there's no expectations, right? Like, this team is good with or without whatever picks that they make. They've done well to keep the stability at bay for them, right? They have their cornerbacks locked in for the next couple of seasons. They're gonna lock in Jalen. They have Rashad Penny to fill in. They have Cam Jurgens to fill in. They have I feel like wide receiver is one position that is being heavily overlooked, and nobody's gonna really pay attention to what's going on there.
I mean, so was the Quez Watkins season like as loud as Aguilar's or Reggers? No, so I think that's the reason why that we're focused on other areas and we're kind of backlogging receiver. Receiver will come in this draft. It's just not going to matter within the first 2 rounds. There's just going to be some guy you just kind of try to put your faith in. Really, within what you got the 2 7 rounds. You got a third. So probably maybe in the third is a receiver there. That's probably the best time to take a receiver before you just double dip in 7th. Yeah.
I mean, and the Eagles went to the Super Bowl with the weapons they had on the team, right? And those weapons are locked in. Obviously, running back, is the major change. But if Quez is your third receiver, then you're not really that stressed. Obviously, it would be nice to upgrade that position, but you can even make it work with 2 receivers, and
they got that. You got the running game with it. I mean, maybe instead of taking a receiver, how do we feel about the tight end situation? Would you consider a tight end?
Should we worry about Brian? He just kind of like disappeared. All I heard was train noises, and then he's just gone.
I think he was safe inside of his Eagles office. I don't think the train went through there.
I just I don't know how to end I don't know how to like continue.
His computer crashed. That's what he did. He put it in the comments.
Okay, damn.
But yeah, it's gonna pop back. It'll pop back on probably just to sign off. Quite frankly, but anyway,
tight end.
A tight end. I think you're not really. I mean, you're not really picking anywhere. Brenton Strange, maybe. By that time, I don't really know who's going to be available, but I know that Brenton Strange, if you're looking at the top 10 tight ends in the entire class, he's definitely a top 10 guy.
Yeah, I mean, if you
out
can
of his draft, out of his position, I should say.
You can get like a Darnell Washington at 30, like was available in that draft. I mean, that's something you consider. I think that like the Eagles, if they get value at tight end falling to them, then that's something you consider. But otherwise, like I almost think it's more likely that they get one in the first round, just because one of those top tight ends fell to them. Versus like picking one in the second round, I think there's so much value in the second round. I can't see them really going tight end in the second round. Like I think at that point, it's not really I think the mindset for the Eagles going into this draft is like first round is like you get the best player, right? And then second round, you're in a position where obviously you never want to go need over talent, but there's so much good talent in the second round at so many different positions that you can kind of go, okay, who can we slot in and who can actually like be an impact player this year? Because I think you still are in a position where you think you can win your division, you have a good chance in the conference, and you want to add players that, you know, maybe they still need some developing, but at least can be an impact player, can be a special teams player, can be a good player immediately, right? Someone you can get minutes for. So I think that like first round is like you're shopping at the kid at a candy store. You're grabbing whatever like the most value you can get, and then second round like you go with what you need.
Would Bijan in the first round be a selection you take because you think you need a running back, or is it like, wow, he actually is the best available? Like, let's take him. He's obviously a valuable pick. Because I look at another running back option. I have a little bit later on. Spoiler alert, not really going to be my pick, but just around the area code of my picks for next week's podcast, Tyjae Spears. So Tyjae Spears is somebody that I look at. Again, seems sort of remarks about the tight end. He's a top 10 running back in his position in this draft class. I think it's somebody that would be a value pick. It just all depends on how much, importance you put into the running back position and how pressed you are to get Bijan.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he falls to you again, he's probably a top 10 overall talent. But I think at 10, it's a bit rich. It, again, depends what the board looks like. If you end up in a situation where there's only 2 quarterbacks taken in the top 10, or even one, I don't think it's a possibility. Then maybe the guys that you want don't fall to you. But I think that there's probably someone that's going to fall to that top 10 that's just at a more impact position, right? Like if you can get an interior defensive lineman or an edge rusher, those are guys that for some reason the RBs are just undervalued. So I think that, you know, teams undervalue them in the draft. And so that's just a trend that's going to continue to happen. So if you get a situation where there's like 2 quarterbacks taken, no teams are really trading up, talent starts kind of dropping off, and he's sitting there at 10, great pick. If he's sitting there at 30, it's a no-brainer. You just take him.
So if we go around the board real quick to all 3 of us, you have your pick of the litter. Every one of our guys are there at 10. And then there's Bijan Robinson. What's the plan? Are you sticking to your guns about the guy that you want, or are you taking Bijan?
I mean, if it's Jalen Carter, I'd take Jalen Carter.
Okay.
Peter Skoronski's another player where I think you take him.
I would too.
Makes a lot of sense. One of the 2 corners, I could see them taking. It just depends. Generally, like first round corners, like unless they're like the corner of that draft, you almost find as much like there's always, it seems like every single year there's the corner that's like taken early on that was just like the corner and they're really, really good. Sauce Gardner, versus the Tarek Woolen, right? And you find a guy later on that's like, just has the intangibles. I think this year's the Deontay Banks, right? Like, again, he's not a 3rd round pick. I think he's obviously like a late first, early second, but you can get those guys, right? And so I think like corner, unless like there's the guy, and there's really not. There's 2, and they're both very good, but I don't know if they're like the dominant corner, right, at 10. So that's a question that the Eagles have to answer for themselves. But corner, and then if not corner, you take the running back.
What about you, Brian?
I'm struggling over here.
trying to get you back in.
I'm on my iPad. Google Chrome won't load my desktop. But honestly, I agree. If Jalen Carter is available, you go Jalen Carter.
Gotcha.
If not, I personally think you go for Bijan. But my standpoint is that you don't keep the 31st overall pick. Like you move that for either more picks or you move that for an actual player that's proven and that can actually do things for you this season. Getting back to the bowl is the only thing that matters, honestly, in my opinion. If they got a taste of it with Jalen Hurts, they really want to win with Jalen Hurts, you want to keep Hurts happy, you got to make the move. And Kevin Byard as safety or Devin White at linebacker, like something's got to give at the end of the day. And I think they got to make a move.
Yeah, I would say Devin White, if you can move your second first round pick for a trade like that. That's perfect. It's probably right up the alley, and it makes the whole draft really with your 10, whoever you take in 10th overall. You're not going to complain really about who you take 10th overall if we have our guy there, either one of us. But with that second, if you can move him and get that kind of proven player, that proven commodity, like you guys were saying, yeah, maybe you just do make the whole draft in the first round, but then boom, you're not really losing your win now edge. So the window even then is still open.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I do apologize for the technical difficulties for tonight.
All you gotta do is sign off, Brian. We just I didn't know how to do it without you because you're always signing off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to end this. I was kind of.
I appreciate that.
I was like, I think it just goes on forever now.
I'm just the guy that yells "Go Birds."
Yeah, exactly. I was worried in my head that the podcast was just never gonna end now that you were gone. Like it's just gonna be stuck here. We had to wait till you came back.
I think I can end it from the iPad. So, yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll give you guys the third and mostly the third round, right? And I think the fifth round. Do we have anything in the fifth, or is it just third and seventh? No, right? All right, so we'll give you the third round next week, and then any updated news on Eagles as well. I'm pretty sure that Liam will be putting something out for the draft show for this weekend. I mean, not for this weekend, for this month. Something that a lot of people have been asking about us, and I'm pretty sure we'll get the game back together and make something happen. But until then, make sure you guys tune in. And if you guys are listening to this tomorrow, hope you guys enjoy it, and make sure you guys subscribe. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Morgan Burkett, Eric Reese, and we're Flipping the Birds.
Go Birds!
Yes, sir.
Flipping the birds.